It's time, huh? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Let us continue to pray for peace and for also the liberation of the Christians who are prisoners, who are suffering so much now because of their faith. Hail Mary.
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Mary, seat of wisdom,
Pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
So today we begin a new chapter, chapter 6. It is the method of definition, division and composition. First, why do we study method of for definition? We are searching for the best way to obtain, to build a definition. What are the tools we already possess? What is the first tool we study to define? The word, no? The word and the concept. No? The word, expressing the concept. That is the first tool, because the definition is made with the word. Huh? And secondly, what tool did we find? When we attribute a predicate to a subject, what do we attribute? What is that? Predicate or category. Categories of what? Of being. Of being. That is the second tool. Because in the definition, we say something about something. We say something. John is a Christian. Christian is attributed to John. It's something. It's a mode of being. A mode of being. All definitions are made with mode of being. They must have a content. And that content is expressed through a word. Now, we study a third tool to define. It is the predicable. Predicable. And the predicables are the how. How, the link between the subject and the predicate. How the predicate is attributed to the subject. Is it as essence, part of the essence, or is it as accident? You remember that? So we have another tool. In this morning, we study another tool, is the method of division and composition. So we can define by define thing, or we can define by putting many things together. Two ways of dealing. That is the subject of this morning. So we want to arrive. Next chapter, it will be the definition through causes. Through causes. And we have 5 tools to arrive to a definition. That is not for logic, it is for every science. Every science, you have that tool to. So next chapter is that. And with that, we can write a definition. Because the definition is the precision to define, to precise the nature of a thing. The nature of it. That is the first step in any science, in chemistry, in physics, in biology, in medicine, in philosophy, in theology. We have to define the term. For example, you study the Holy Trinity, and you have to define what is the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is not the mystery of redemption and incarnation. definitions are in everywhere there is science. There's no science without definition. And every science, the first step for a scientist, it is to know what is the thing. If we don't know what is the thing, we can do nothing. So we have to define. And that sometimes takes years, even centuries. Think about Archimedes, discovering the law of hydrostatic. Think about Newton. 16th century discovered the law of gravity. It's very recent in the history of the world. If man exists for 3 million years, 400 years is nothing. We can say that it is very recent. But we have to define what is gravity. We have to define what is buoyancy, hydrostatic. We have to define what is electricity, what is an electron, what is the... in 1971, maybe I told that to you, but if I repeat, I apologize. In Cameroon, supervising on Tuesday afternoon an examination, one of the sisters was a nurse at the dispensary of the mission. He gave me an article on Newsweek. I told that to you? No? Yes or no?
Yes.
Ah, okay, I know. Nobody knew what was the strange disease. The strange disease was AIDS. But that takes years. Years before we define what is AIDS. We cannot fight an enemy if we don't know him. That is the problem of ISIS. Al-Qaeda, before we distinguish the soldier of the army, during the last war, it's very easy to distinguish between Japanese and German and French and British. They have a special way of clothing. They have a uniform. No, we cannot define. Maybe your brother is a kamikaze. He wants to. He does not wear a gun, but he wears bombs. So that is the problem, everywhere. So now we go to the method for defining. Okay, paragraph A. The method of division. First, the word method itself. Method, meta, in Greek, meta means with, by, in and odos. Odos means the way. Odometer. Those who run for, how do we say that, for marathon. Marathon. Someone, they have an odometer. Or in your car, you have a odometer indicating the distance you drive to car function. So the odos, the way. What is the best way? One of the way to define. And the way to define. First, when you define, the first step is to put a name on the thing. AIDS, for example. It was an unknown disease, and in 1951 it was unknown. Finally, in 1976, 78, we discovered it was A. We put A. Alzheimer, many years. People lost memory. Finally, a doctor, Dr. Alzheimer, he gave his name to the disease he discovered. Put a name. What was the first question you asked your father, your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother? When you see something new, you say, what? What is that? What? Well, to put a name on the thing. If we call that the nominal definition. And to put a name on the thing, it is already to have a master on the thing. You remember in the Genesis, when God said to man to dominate the creation, what he said? Give a name. Give a name. I have my dog in Cameroon, Noni, my shepherd, Noni. When he was with me, we walked in the mission, And other dog also, he were curious, they want to fight with him, or they want to, many dogs. So I say, Nani, come here. Who came? Only none. The other, I have a name, I have a power. You know the extreme importance for a father and a mother to give a name to a child? When they give a name to a child, they have a power on that child. No?
Yeah.
When you were playing with other kids, and your mother say, hey, yeah, hey, then come here. The other continue to play, and you
Come back.
yes, exactly. You came home to name. Very important. So in philosophy, the first thing, we have to try to find a name. Well, that first definition is called nominal definition. The name we try to define the thing by using a name. And that is important. When you use the dictionary, for example, Merriam-Webster, collegiate, go to the etymology, the root of the word, to understand the meaning of the word. So we have many examples. We have, for example, the word anthropology. So anthropos means logos means science, knowledge, the word. So we know man, not the science of man. If you study geology, the study of geo. What is geo? The earth. The earth. Astronomy, astra. Know me to give a name. So other words can be, not everyone, but most of the word can have an explanation for the word itself. Okay? You have monopoly. Monopoly. The game. American learn to become a good capitalist. No more poly. Mono means one, and poly, the city, to control the city. To control many in one end, etc. So many words can be understood. So that is a preliminary description. We single the thing, we single out, we designate the thing by a name. It is the first step. And now your mother say, take in the kitchen, take the teapot, and you don't take the toaster. You take the teapot. Because you know the name, that you can have a certain master above thing. For example, if the teacher, the first grade, say, take your pencil. You don't know the definition of pencil, but you know the name pencil, and you can put the name on an object. And suppose instead of taking the pencil, you take your lunch or your chocolate. That means you have no master of the thing. You don't know what is the thing. So the first step is to know and that is important, to have a rich vocabulary. And also study English, no? It's important to know. Even English people, they must have a rich vocabulary. And when we study logic, we're learning a new language. Of course, it is in English, but the words have not the same meaning. So it's important to put a right word on the right thing. First step. But I continue, I read the text. But if the meaning of the thing, of the name is unknown, so what we have to do? First, three possibilities. You indicate a real thing. You say, that is a carrot, that is potato, that's banana, you know. It is what we do in primary school. We have a lot of pictures, and they designate the thing, and the name is under, and we learn through images or through contacts with things. You know, if you want to know what are wild animals, what is the best place to know, to discover what are wild animals? To go to the zoo. The zoo. And now you have a giraffe. You have a hippopotamus, you have an elephant, a lion, a tiger. If you go to Hartford on the street, normally you don't find tigers. If ever that happens, be sure 911 will be called. But in the zoo, you will learn. That is important. You go to a museum, science museum. That is very, very. When I was teaching primary school, I took my students to a museum, scientist museum, McGill University, to discover, to see by themselves. Is the very, very good thing. First meaning. Another way it is to produce a picture. A picture. So here I spoke about corazon, about soursop, about, or in Spanish, guanabaya. If you never heard about that, you see that. What is the form of that? What is the taste of that? So here you have a picture, you know. It is the form of a core, in Espanol is corazón. In French, core is the heart, the heart. So the form of heart. You look at the picture, of course, you don't have the smell, but you have a certain idea of what it is, you know. And the third, it is to give a verbal description. So the teacher explains to you what is a corazon. He gives you, so that is green, that the center here is very soft and sweet. Oh, it's the best, you know.
You love it?
Oh, yes, it's the best fruit. So, you know, I communicate you a certain description of the thing. It is so efficient, you can go now to the Asian or African market or Caribbean market, and you can say, hey, that is a corazon, that is a soursop, that is a guanabana, that is a good fruit. Oh, I will buy it. I will verify if what Father Michel said is true. So, you know, teaching is there. When you want to teach children catechism, sacrament, you want to teach about the Holy Eucharist. If you have a chalice, you have a pattern, you have bread, what is the way to teach? We have to use, in physics, in chemistry, in physics it's important to see, to touch, the experiment, because we know through our senses. Never forget that. So it is a nominal definition. It's not a scientific definition. But it is important. Why? Because when we are able to identify a thing and to say that thing is not the other thing, I have a certain knowledge of that. So that is the first step. I have a nominal knowledge of that. It is, I have a clear idea. I have a clear idea. If I say to you, go to the market and buy your superior. Say, sister, go to the market. We need chicken and we need rice. But you go to the market because you know what is rice. You can buy rice. You know what is chicken. You can buy chicken. You know, because you know. But can you give me the definition of what is chicken? Can you give me the definition what is rice? No. But you know what is rice. But you cannot define it. So you have a clear idea, but you don't have a distinct idea. That comes from Descartes. For Descartes, the criterion of truth are the ideas, that is very, very important, are the ideas that are clear and distinct. That means you can say that is different from the other, classify, clear. And distinct, what is that? That means you know distinctly are the constituent of the thing. A farmer knows very well what is a horse, what is a cow, but it will be very difficult for him to define what is a horse and what is a cow. He knows. He's not a scientist, but he has a clear idea. If I like Descartes, you accept that the criterion of truth are the idea that are clear and distinct, what is the consequence of that? As a Christian, for example, as a believer, that means you cannot accept any dogma as true. Is any dogma distinct, clear and distinct? dogma of faith, are they clear and distinct? No. Therefore, they are not true. If you take as a criterion of truth the idea clear and distinct. So it's the reason why the disciple of Descartes was a believer, he was a good Catholic, he was practicing his religion, he was proving the existence of God. But those who came after him, hey, Sir Descartes, you said that the criterion of truth are the idea that are clear and distinct. Why we do believe in God? Why we do believe? We have no reason to believe because God is not distinct. Okay? So, you know, sometimes we don't think all the consequences of what somebody affirmed. And that, the consequence of that is rationalism. Rationalism. And rationalism will lead you to relativism. Because everyone has a criterion, his own ideas, of course, everyone will be the measure of truth. And you are the measure of truth, and he is the measure of truth. So we have many truths. And if we want to live in peace, we must respect the truth of others that oppose to my truth. That's the situation of we live in democracy. Okay. So a nominal definition, philosophy, the love of wisdom, wisdom. Theology, the science of theos. And some current they are called theosophy, to love God. Okay. Here we touch a very important thing. When you go to the root, and to go to the root, what you will discover in English, in French, in German, in Italian, in Spanish, and you will discover the majority of the abstract word come from Latin and Greek. Latin and Greek. So the abstract knowledge we use in philosophy, in theology, even in science, comes from the Greek and the Latin, especially the Greek. And that is, consequence of that, a good advice I give you, when you have free time, why you don't study the Greek roots? You can have that in some dictionary. For example, hematology. Hematology. So hematos, you will see that means blood. So many words you use in biology, you use in medicine, you use in physics, are from the Greek and from Latin. So it is not a waste of time. It's not a waste of time to spend some hours to study that. And if you do that, you will see it is very easy to learn English, to learn French, Spanish, Italian, those Western languages. And to study also the science language, because science language, even in Chinese, they use technical words coming from Greek and Latin. Kilometer, kilomètre. In Vietnamese, kilomètre. Kilomètre. Kilomètre is French, but that is not French, it's Greek.
Yes.
Kilo, 1,000, meter, to measure. Our language is filled with Greek and Latin. So don't forget that. Okay, that is a parenthesis, but very important. Very important. Secondly, perception of the general class. One tries to find a general category for the given thing. So we start from what is general and we try to precise. So when we define, we always begin by a very large meaning of a word. We take a word which is with a very large meaning. We call that a genus. We saw that. Genus, you remember? What is a genus? Predicable. Predicable, which indicate that the predicate is united to the subject in an essential way, but general, very general. Animal, for example. Animal. Animal is very general. A thing, a tool, an instrument, okay, a device, a book in general, okay? Now, so the genus, and how we can determine the genus, we use a specific difference. For example, you have an animal, you have rational animal and non-rational animal. So we can distinguish. We have animals that are mammal. No, they are not mammal. We have animals that are carnivore, that are not carnivore. So we precise. So we define using genus and specific difference. So definitions are made by genus and specific difference. Okay? You remember the triangle? It is a figure. That is the genus. But that figure is with three sides and three angles. 3 sides and 3 angles. That is the specific difference. Because I can have a square or a rectangle or a trapeze or a lozenge or many other things, a circle or many figures. Every figure has a specific difference. Okay? So that is easy to define by specific difference and genus in philosophy, in theology, in abstract matter, in mathematics. But when you study chemistry, when you study physics, when you study geology, you study biology, you cannot use that. What you do? We saw that? We use? You don't remember? Last class. Hey, are you Alzheimer? What plays the same role as specific difference? Inseparable accident. Perfect. Inseparable accident. They play the same role as the specific difference, but they are not essential. They are accidental, but they play the same role. Why? Because in biology, in physics, we cannot have a real specific difference. We distinguish things through many characteristics, many traits, and many features. Okay? You understand that? Yes. You are awakened? Hi, come on this. Okay. So we use, what is that? What is genus specific difference giving me a species? What is that? Predicable. Predicable. So we saw that we define through word, nominal definition, through predicable. But the predicable, what is it? It is to apply something to the subject. What is that? The something we apply to the subject. The something, the what we apply to the subject. Predicament or category of being. Aspect of being. What are the two main aspects of being?
Essential.
Substance and accident. Substance, to stand under. The accident, they are in the substance. Okay, so it is using the 10 categories. It is on your paper. But not every definition is satisfying. So some definitions are vague, they are incomplete. For example, a batch. A batch is a quantity of anything made in one operation, a batch. Well, it is a quantity. It is a predicament, a category, but it's not sufficient. We can define through quality, compare it, to ability, to position. We can define using predicament, but we are not satisfied with that. We want to go further, and now we try to find a way to obtain a better definition And that is the division we divide. In fact, already we spoke about that. Already when we take the genus and we say genus animal, all genus animal is divided into those who are rational, those who are non-rational. That is a division, no? You divide. Why do you divide? You divide to define. When your mother say, hey, John, Mary, it's time to put order in your room because it is a mess. Your note of philosophy are with your sock and your Nikkei. Everything is put order. You have to divide. You divide, you classify. What is division? It is classification, sorting. You put together your socks, your shoes, your note of philosophy. You try to put order. What is to put clarity? Sure, you can distinguish one from the other. So that is division. We proceed to division. And now, if you are rational, we can continue and divide. So our definition are made through division from the genus into species. So let us come on that. From the genus, the summit, the more general is the genus. So in every definition, you have to find a genus, a genus. For example, a cat. What is a cat? A cat is an animal, for example. So if you say it is an animal, then it's true. Man is an animal also. So we have to make a difference between what is a man and a cat. So you can say, well, he is non-rational, rational. He is a man. The cat is a mammifer. The cat is carnivore. Carnivore. The cat is, and some animals are not. For example, a snake is not a mammal. Carnivore. The giraffe is not a carnivore. And you arrive to among the carnivore, you have the feline. Those who are not feline, like a squirrel, is not a feline. And you continue. And finally, you arrive to individual. My cat, your cat is cat. That is individual. The last level before individual, it is the species. But what makes the species? All the part of the division. All that makes the species. That means to define what is a cat, we need that here. We need that. So in any definition, we start from the universal and we precise by division. Division implies exclusion. You cannot divide without excluding something, no? So you put apart. So non-mammal, non-carnivore. I don't remember what I told you, non-feline, etc. So you proceed by exclusion. So when you proceed by exclusion, you arrive to a better comprehension. So here we have a large extension, universal, absolutely universal, large extension. And when you define means, finis in Latin, means limit, limit, border, the limit between Canada, United States, and Mexico, the limits, the border, you define, and when you define, you restrain the extension, and you arrive here to a little smaller extension than animal, that is the species cat, And under we have the individual. That is the essential. So now we go to the text. What is the nature? First, from the general to the specific. Now the definer searches for distinctive mark, which sets the thing apart, separate the thing apart from all other kinds within a class. After perceiving the general class for the thing and the genus, generis, general, the definer searches for the specific difference or inseparable accident. So we have a genus, and after that we find different specific, different traits, different characteristics, which will specify. Specify means determine, restrain, precise, precise, okay? Specific. And the word species is the result of that. Species, specific, special, okay? So we can divide using either the specific difference or inseparable accident. The difference between those, what is that? Inseparable accidents are accidents. They are not the essence of the subject. The specific difference is the essence of the subject. Remember the example easy for you. Man, John, man is an animal. Man is rational. Man is a rational animal. And those three are linked to man in an essential way. They are essential. But not in the same manner, not in the same mode. The first is essential as a genus, a very general determination. Okay? Relational is specific. It is putting man apart of all the other. Man is unique. Specific to man is to be rational. Okay? At a philosophical point of view. Of course, if I am a dentist, I will not say that. I will study man at the point of view of teeth. Okay? And finally, I put them together and I have the species. That is essential. And we saw, repetition is the mother of learning. That is essential, but we can have also an accidental relation between the predicate and the subject. And remember, if the relation, if the link comes from the essence, we have property. We can laugh, we can read, we can speak, talk. That is proper to man, but it's not essential. Do you laugh when you sleep? Do you talk? Maybe sometimes they talk when they sleep. It's dangerous if you do your confession. The other is you must keep the secret of confession. Property. But the other are not essential. They are not flowing from the essence. So we are separable and or inseparable and separable accidents. Inseparable, we know they are all accidents united together and play the same role as the specific difference. And separable, they are not essential. The color, the dimension, the age, etc. Okay? I continue. So a natural method to divide is to oppose. To oppose. But there is two kinds of opposition. We can oppose by contrary, and we can oppose by contradiction, or contradictory opposition. So, contrary opposition or contradictory opposition. Okay? So, for example, water. Water can be hot, almost boiling, or can be cold, almost ice. Okay? That is opposition of contrariety. Contrary opposition. That means between cold and hot there are many degrees. Okay? There is a middle between them. A middle. Or if I take black and white, I can have multiple from the dark and less dark, gray and white. Is the reason why there is no contradiction in the hair as your father to be white. It's still a real hair. And when you will become white, wisdom, there is no contradiction, but there is a contrariety, opposition. And you will be, it is sad because you see passing from the black to the white or to nothing. But here now, contradiction, it is total exclusion. Total exclusion. There is no middle, total exclusion. For example, rational and non-rational. Living or after. You good? After? You can be after. You are living or non-living. So you exclude the possibility of after. After. Is after. No, we are living or non-living. That is contrary. That is the way, the best way to define is here. When we want to define, we define by contradiction. And I go to the rule now for method. First, each member must have less extension, of course. If I put both together, I have more extension. This is something abnormal. The pack is always smaller than the whole. Okay. Secondly, all members taken together must equal. The division must be complete. The division must be exhaustive, complete. Mortal, non-mortal. If I say, for example, Christian, I divide Christian. Okay? I say Christian are Catholic and Christian are Protestant. Is my division correct?
Yes.
Is it good? Do you agree with that division?
No.
No, why?
It's contrary.
Yes, but can you prove that division is not valid?
Because you're either not Catholic or you are Catholic.
Yes, that is the perfect, but that division, criticize that division here. Christian are Catholic or Protestant?
Well, there's more.
Who has more?
Orthodox.
Orthodox, you know. So the Orthodox are also, so that is not good. Why? Because it's not exhaustive. The division is not complete. So the division must express the totality of the genus. Okay? So the best division is to say Catholic and non-Catholic. That's no problem. Okay? I continue. Because you have some exercise on that, don't forget. And your examination will be also on that. Criticize, I will give you some definition. I will ask you criticize those definitions. Say they are, if they are good, no problem. But if they are not valid, say why. Say why. Yeah, there is a reason for that. Okay. I continue. Focus on the inseparable accident of the member. Of course, we can focus on the specific difference, but that is excessively rare. We find that in mathematics, in theology, and in philosophy. All the rest, all science is based on genus and specific, genus and inseparable accident. Okay? Four, you utilize the most obvious difference first. For example, if I decry what is my cat, I say it's an animal, it is a feline. Is it a good way to define? No, feline is very precise. You have to begin by the general dimension, mammal and non-mammal, carnivore, not carnivore, feline and not feline after. So we have to respect an order of division. So my division must always begin by the universal, most general, and less general, less general, less general. If you put feline at the beginning, immediately something is not. Logically, we begin by the most universal, and little by little we precise, we define. Define means put limit and limit and limit. Finally, you arrive exactly what is the thing. Okay? Every subsequent division must fall under a new heading. That means every division, there must be a heading here. A heading. And to have that division, there must be a reason for that. A kind of subordinate specific difference. We give more and more precision. And all those things are, in fact, in science, inseparable accidents. Okay? An example. For example, here. What is a ball? A ball is a container. Okay? Okay. What is a ball? What is the genus? Ball.
Bowl. Container.
Container. You know why I say that? I teach that for many, many years. Every year, I have students who put here the name to define. Here it's not the name to define, it is the genus. The name to define is outside of that, you know. And I hope that this year I will have no mistake. Every year, even last year. Don't tell that, no? It was last year. Some student, I say, what is a book? What is a missile? Is there a missile? No. The word to define must not enter the definition. It is outside of the definition. So the genus here, it is what? A container. Okay, a container. Now, after that, what kind of container? It can be deep or not deep. So deep or non-deep. Or not deep or non-deep, depending on you write that, is a dash or not. That means you have here the criterion of deepness. Okay? And after that, it can be rounded, open at the top. Okay, or rounded here, there's no problem. Open at the top, open at the top. Or non-open at the top. It can be round, it can be not round. No? So we divide, but the first to be divided is the genus. The genus. Okay? So that is a kind of order. Finally, to perceive all the distinctive nodes belonging to the thing defined, but we put that together. And putting that together, container, deep, open, and round, you have finally different kind of container. The container. No? And I gave you you have that in the book of Sister Spangler, but I don't tell her that I copy. You know, here you have to classify. But we proceed by negation. You have deep, non-deep. Open at the top, non-open at the top. Round, not rounded, you know. So that is the way, by division, by division. Okay, so together, this inseparable accident here, precising the genus, are adequate substitute for the specific difference, and they help us to define. We cannot define without using inseparable accident or specific difference. If you go to the dictionary, 99% of the words are defined in that way. Genus and inseparable axiom. For fun, go to Merriam-Webster, for example, define what is a snake, define what is a tree, and they will use that. They will say a tree is a plant. A snake is an animal. After that, they give you all the characteristics of a tree, all the characteristics of a snake. Okay? So the method, that method, as I explained to you, it is what we call the method of division. But there is another method. If you turn the page, you have the method of composition. So we want to define a ball. And what is common to all those balls? They are containers. They contain. So after that, we put ball by group. Ball who serve for cereal. Ball who serve for to put salad. They are not exactly the same, but they are something in common, you know. Those for mixing ball, etc., for punch, when you prepare a punch, you don't use, you use a special, you don't use any kind of. So, how do you say, when you prepare pancake, you use a pen? A pen, pancake. We use a pancake to prepare a ball, to prepare a punch for a celebration. No, you have difficulty to keep. You have something, especially after some drink. So you use something. We don't put soup in the plate, a flat plate. We put soup in the bowl, you know. So if we put that, what do you discover? You discover that there is something common to all those different kind of containers. But there is something different for each one. So we take what is common to all, and we define that. No? So it is what we say here. The method of focus on individuals rather on general class. It is the contrary of the method we used before. Composition, division, begins by the general, go to the individual. Here we start from individual thing. We try to put that together, to sort them, and from that we find a general, a universal concept. It's another method. It is more induction. Here it's more deduction. You know, here we divide. There we compose. We start from individual, and we put them together. Here another group, and we find what is common to every group here. Okay. And attempt, we give a name for the collection, a name for each group. And after that, we continue to find something common to those groups. That is another, specific common traits. Well, I gave you an example here you have that chart. Here, you have what is common for everyone, cereal bowl, salad bowl, and they have that on the table in your kitchen. They are there. So you divide it. Everyone is deep, open, and rounded. But each one is different. One are for drinking punch, drinking alcohol. Other are to prepare salad. Others to cook omelette or bacon. You know, they have different containers, many kind of containers. So they have something in common. Something different. What is a definition? It is we take something in common and we use something specific. So for each one, what do you have? You have the common, the genus if you want, and you have the specific difference. That means the utility different for each one. Okay? Well, they have rules. Each individual must have the name of the thing to be defined. They have the same name in the group, the same name. They must have something similar, common traits, etc. And 4, if you go to 4, after having a sufficient number of groups. Interesting. Sufficient number. Why? Because we proceed here by induction. I will speak about that soon. That means we start from many experiences to build our definition. Here we start from a general concept to precise after. It's two different ways. One is deduction, the other is induction.
Which way do you prefer, Father?
I prefer that method here. It is the more used. But the other is used also in when you are receiving many butterflies, for example. You have to classify insects, put the insect in what is common, what is different. So that is. Personally, I prefer the most universal use is the division. So I will not ask questions about composition, okay? I don't need, I explain that because the method exists, but in fact, most of the time we use the method of division. We start from a general concept and we divide. Finally, the definition will be the series of characteristics. All together give me a definition of what is a thing, okay? Okay, I go now, you have something about cats and packs, It is the method of composition here. For example, you have many kinds of cats. You have alley cats, Persian cats, Siamese cat. And now you have what is common. Everyone is mammal, carnivore, feline, domesticated as a pet, is a mouser, is a but after each one is different. Alley cat is not a Persian cat, so they have something characteristic which are different. All those characteristics enter the definition of what is an alley cat. But in the definition of what is an alley cat, you have something in common with a Persian cat. It is the same when you define hydrogen, oxygen, and chloride. And you have something in common, they are gas. But something different, here they have no odor, here they have odor. They have no color, here they have color, So you have something common, something different. And it is putting together those characteristics we can define what is an alley cat, what is a Siamese cat, a Persian cat. It's the same for pack. You have city pack, national park, and safari park. Something is common to everyone, but something is different. So if you want to define what is a safari park, but in a safari park you will find wild animal, giraffe, elephant. But in Central Park, normally you should not find giraffe and elephant. Suppose in the morning, Habakkuk, you remember Habakkuk? He's running with his ribbon, with his kippah, and suddenly he meets a giraffe. You say, hey, here is not a zoo, it's not a safari park. In a safari park, we travel to meet lions, to see a giraffe, but in Central Park, no, it's different. So, they are a park. National park is a national park. In national park, I should not find elephant. I should not find hippopotamus, except if I am in some country, like in Africa, like in Cameroon, for example, the Waza Park is a national park. But at the same time, a national park can become a safari park. But it's not exactly the same, because in the safari park, you have roads, but in a national park, you don't have necessary road. Okay? I was in the Waza Park many times. I went to Cameroon, North Cameroon, with French people, with friends from France, Waza Park. And the lions, they are like cats. A cat, when does a cat hunt? No, night. It's a night hunter. Lion is a feline, they are night hunter. Except if they are very hungry. So during the day, if they have a good meal, a good gazelle, they sleep. So when we visit a safari, the guides are obliged to put fire, to oblige them to wake up and to run. And of course, a day we were the car, and He put fire. Suddenly, a lion walked very slowly. He was probably sleeping. Huh? And one of my friends, he went out of the car to film. At the same time, the car
Have to-
started, and my friend was alone with the lion. He said, "Hey, stop, stop, stop!" But the lion was not very hungry. Huh? Otherwise, we'd have a good meal because my friend was
Good guy.
rounded. Okay, safari. Not the important C. I go to C. Huh?
I have a question real fast.
Yes.
I know these are just examples, but would you would have to list every kind of cat, right? If you wanted the definition for induction, you would have to list all the kinds of cats instead of.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Here it's not complete. Huh?
Right.
But it is to express what is the definition of a Persian cat of a, huh?
Oh,
If,
yeah.
for example, I can define a seminarian, Cromwell, a seminarian from Wisconsin, from John the 23rd, different, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah? So we have traits, huh? They have something in common, a religious sister. Hmm? You are not the same and you are the same. Sisters have something in common, but they are different. Huh? By their founder, by their charism. So a part is common, a part is different. Is the way we define. But in composition, we define from the individual. And it is the way many times sciences function. Huh? We start to define from the individual. But when we know, after that, we can start from the universal to the individual. Huh? Okay. In fact, it is exactly the science proceeds. Science proceeds first by composition. And little by little, we arrive to a universal, and that after that, we can have deduce the definition of what is a lion, what is a squirrel, what is a beaver, the Canadian beaver. Okay? Even if he loses his flat tail, he continues to be a beaver because a flat tail is an inseparable accident. It is an accident. Therefore, if he loses its tail, he continues to be a beaver. Like my cat, he can lose his whisk, he continues to be a cat. Okay? It's the same for you. Even if you lose your hair, you continue to be a human being. No? But it is an inseparable accident of men. Normally men have hair. But sometimes they are losing their hair, they continue to be human. Huh? Okay? I don't want to make some application to person here. It's a universal. Huh? It's not only everywhere in the world we find men losing hair, and sometimes women also. Okay? But women are the possibility to have a veil, so we cannot see that. Okay. So, okay, I read the text here. The above method, composition and division, rest on the direct progressive perception of the element involved. What we said here, what we say about the induction of the induction, it is based on experience, observation. You remember the difference between experience and experiment or experimentation. Experiment is an experience, but reflected on, controlled, measured. That experience becomes a real something enriches me. Otherwise, I can make many experiences, and for me, it's nothing. Okay. So, based on some experience, sense experience, the definition. The definer does not reason that the ball is container. He accepts that because of experience. I don't reflect to say my cat is a rodent, is a carnivore. I have to look to see, So all those affirmations we see in science are based on sense experience. Okay? But when I say man is a rational animal, did you ever saw the reason of yourself and the reason of others?
No.
No, we know that through his action, through his activity. Huh? But activities are not the essence, they are the accidents. Huh? Category accident. But those category accidents must be in a substance. Okay? So the scientist and the definer accept that that trait, for example, carnivore or mammal or feline, because of experience. It can touch, it can see, it can smell. Okay? How you can say that someone, for example, they say the flesh of a deer has a different taste than the flesh of a cow. What? You can say that because your brother said that, okay, but that is not science. You say that when you taste. Taste. Evidence. So when you have a contact, direct contact with thing, we have in front with evidence. Evidence is the full clarity with which a thing falls on our senses and our mind. That is evident. Okay? It is evident I am here. You don't reason for that. Okay? So the element of a definition coming from sense experience are obvious because they are at the same time sensible because they are known by my senses, but at the same time they are also intellectual. They are in my mind because I have abstracted them. I have the insight. Not only I saw cats, many cats, but because I am intelligent, I can abstract from cats the universal idea of cat. My knowledge is valuable because it starts from sense experience, from the object. That is induction. Induction. Encore in the sensible reality. But it is also in my mind because it is abstract, because of the abstractive power of my mind. We saw that. So we have a sense experience and we can abstract from that. My knowledge is based on the object I touch, I see. Or the word I listen to, the word carousel. Maybe you never saw a carousel, you never ate a carousel, but now you know the existence of a fruit called carousel. Because carousel is sensible. Every word you listen to is sensible, no? Okay? And not only is sensible, but you know the meaning. If you say to me a word in Vietnamese, I will be able to listen. I will receive the word, but I will not receive the meaning because I don't know Vietnamese. But if I say to you apple, now you know. But maybe 10 years ago you did not know what was an apple. So not only you have the sense knowledge because you listen, you have also the concept contained in the sense knowledge. That is interesting to see that our concepts are carried by words. And when you study philosophy of man, you study the extreme importance of language. Language is so important because it is through language that we communicate our knowledge. So the element of a definition must be obvious. In a definition, we start from evidence. A definition is based on evidence. Okay? Because both sensible, we saw that. Now, in the definition, one moves from the more obvious to the more obscure. That means we start from the known to the unknown. The known to the unknown. We precise. The base on which a definition rests is, first, the direct perception of the whatness, sense knowledge. Everything enters my mind through my senses from a sufficient number of examples. So not only from one experience, but from many experiences. Sometimes it's not possible. For example, the sun, the moon, we have only one sun in our system, only one moon. Well, you know, we can have many. Sometimes only one thing is sufficient to know. Okay? But my knowledge starts from my senses all the time. There is no reasoning. That intuition, in fact, induction is producing in you intuition. That means you know without reasoning. I know, for example, that the classic of Brother Jap is keki. I know that not through reasoning, I know that through perception, intuition, direct knowledge, without reasoning. Okay? So, and that is our knowledge and definition must be based on evidence, and evidence is based on experimentation, experience. So, the extreme importance to enrich your knowledge through, for example, pictures, through the reading books, to listen, through our senses. Okay? Intuition is evident and does not need to be proved. We don't prove evidence. It is so clear. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Do you reason for that? It is evident. But how did we know that? Because your teacher in the first grade, they told you 2 fingers equal 2 tomatoes plus 2 tomatoes, 2 carrots, 2 plus 2 carrots, 2 candies plus 2 candies. Finally, you say, hey, something common in that. And you deduce 2 plus 2. You abstract. In fact, when you do 2 plus 2, you have a domain of abstraction. But you start from sense experimentation, okay? And I have a few minutes not to go to page 43 for some definition. The first definition is what is a cleaver? A cleaver is a heavy cutting tool with a broad blade. What is the genus here? Tool. Not cleaver.
No.
The word to define will not be there. Okay. What kind of tool? It can be cutlass or non-cutlass. It can cut or not cut. Okay. It can also be heavy or non-heavy. In fact, it can be with a broad blade or not with a broad blade. So you take all those 3 characteristics and you can define what is a cleaver. In fact, our definitions are made with a series of inseparable accidents, inseparable traits, inseparable characteristic, traits, trait, or characteristic. That characteristic play the role of a specific difference, a series of differences. And they are subordination. They are subordinate one to the other. You have a club, a heavy stick. What is the genus here? Stick. Is that club? No. Club is not in that definition. It is stick. Okay? What kind of stick? It can be heavy or not heavy. It can be thin at the end or not thin at the end. For example, a baseball bat is a club, but it's not thin, it's large. Okay? And finally, it is used as a weapon or not used as a weapon. Normally, a baseball bat is not used to kill, but sometimes they use that not to strike the ball, but to kill. Okay, so you can do that by yourself. You have some exercises. We start from the most universal and more and more we precise. That what we have, what we gain in comprehension, we are losing in extension. So comprehension is at the end first order of extension. So you see, what is a book? What is a missile? It is a book that is very extended. If you precise the nature of a missile, you arrive to something very precise, putting missile apart all the other. Okay, now it's time to make a discernment between the different food you have to choose. So if you choose something, you have to put apart another thing, no? So next class, we work on definition from the causes. From causes. Very important chapter. Have a good appetite. Sister, don't forget to send me your email, so I will be sure I will have the right address.